Good morning folks, and thanks for watching another Glenn Maney Talks Chelsea. And last night in the Carabao Cup quarter final in the 21-22 season, it was Brentford 0, Chelsea 2. And I didn't see that coming. Oh, wait a minute, it's Christmas week. There we go, that's me hat sorted. Right, yeah, so last night it was 2-0 away at Brentford to Chelsea. I didn't see that coming, I'll be honest. You know, you do this predictor on the Chelsea app, Fifth Stand. If you haven't got that, get the app, it's good for the phone. But they play this predictor, and do you know, last night is the first time I've ever gone against Chelsea. I put it 1-0 to Brentford. How wrong could I have been? I just thought with the coronavirus, the injuries, the way we've been playing, Brentford had a chance to make history really by making a League Cup semi-final, and I just thought everything was against us. But when the Blues have got their back to the wall, that's when they're at their strongest, and I should have known that. Three lads last night made their debut. Jude Sun-Suk Bell, who's been scoring, not so much lately, but scored a load of goals in the development squad. We had Xavier Simons playing at right wing back, and we had Harvey, I keep calling him Harvey Dent, that's Two-Face out of Batman, isn't it? But Harvey Vale, who also made his debut last night. On top of that, we had Malang Sarr, only a young lad himself, playing on the left side of the three centre-backs. And Chalobah, who again is a kid himself, really playing a Rudiger role last night, pushing the team forward. He had Aspie next to him. Aspie was doing a good job as captain of the side, but Chalobah really bossed that back four. I don't know if you agree, but that's the way it looked to me. I thought great performance from a side that hasn't played together a lot, and I just didn't see that coming. But you know what, I also think when some of those players came on in the second half, some of the more experienced players, a lot of them looked right on it, and I mean right on it. Pulisic, we all say, well, not all of us, some of the cabbages say, sell him, he's had a bad game, sell him, he's injury prone and he's had a bad game, get rid of him. We know from the season before last how Pulisic, under Frank, how good Pulisic can be when he's firing on all cylinders. You don't give up with a player like that overnight, and when he came on I thought he looked sharp. Mason Mount looked sharp. N'Golo Kante looked out of this world. It's looking good for Christmas. I'm a lot more heartened about Aston Villa and Brighton, I really am. I'm hoping for 6 points. I know I shouldn't get too over enthusiastic about last night, but I am. And those young men at the start, they just did great. Right, let's get on with it. Chelsea last night sort of set up with a 3-5-1-1, or maybe a 3-4-2-1. But yeah, we started off with Aspie on the right side of the central defenders. We had Chalobah in the middle, and we had Malang Sarr on the left hand side of them. Left wing back we had Alonso. Right wing back, debutant Xavier Simons. In the middle, we had Kovacic and Saul Niguez. Can you imagine my face when the team sheet came up? Oh, Saul Niguez. Ain't there any more debutants? But we'll talk about that later. In front of them we had Ross Barkley, and then sort of playing just behind Jude Sun-Suk-Bell, another debutant, was debutant Harvey Vale. So we kicked off. I wasn't expecting anything too great, I'll be honest. I was expecting a Brentford onslaught, but no. Chalobah, who I didn't expect to be back, was back. Old Thomas Tuchel played a little poker hand with that one, didn't he? And he was winning everything in the air. He was dominating. He was pushing people forward. He was telling people where to go. Really helping Malang Sarr through the game. It was great to watch. It really was. We had Harvey Vale, who was winning balls all over the show, and the young man really was giving a lesson to Lukaku, Werner, and Havertz about how to hold a ball up. I thought he was immense. I really did. I really thought he was immense. The ball was sticking to him. He was looking up. He was playing balls. Really, to be fair, probably better that Harvey Vale was there last night than some of our more established forwards. Because coming back from injury and with some of the form they've been in, he was superb. His debut. I mean, I know he got booked, but he got booked for clattering a geezer when he needed to. Really, he was just so fired up. I loved watching that sort of enthusiasm of youth, and the boy can play. There's one for the future for us all, isn't it? Sunson Bell, he got a little bit. I think the physicality was a little bit much for him last night, but he just returning from flu. Tuchel was umming and ahhing whether to play him or not, but because he scored so many goals, he played him. Felt sorry for Harvey Vale. Well, I didn't feel sorry for him. I was actually shouting at the telly at the time, but I felt sorry for him. He didn't cap his performance off with a goal because he had a chance of a header. I think sometimes you get too much time to think about it, and he tried. I see what he tried to do. He tried to head it down into the floor so it would come up, which would be difficult for the goalkeeper. But unfortunately, it was too near the keeper, and the keeper smothered it. But yeah, so we had an excellent performance, and we went in really battling. And we went in at half time 0-0. Second half, straight away, Tuchel made a couple of substitutions. He brought Jorginho on for Cover. Cover last night made a few of his sort of trademark runs. It was good to see him back, but you can tell that he needs the minutes. Little bit sluggish in places. You know where he normally gets away from the player in that first couple of yards. He was struggling to do that. Looked as if he was sort of carrying an injury, but fingers and toes crossed that he wasn't, and it was just a bit of tiredness in his legs because it's great to see him back, and he really does alleviate pressure off of that back four at times. Links up well with the forwards. We've missed him. So yeah, Jorginho came on for Cover, and Pulisic came on for the said Jude Sunsung Bell, because I think he was suffering. Yeah, he was suffering from the effects of flu still. He battled well. Credit where credit's due, but I've watched him a fair bit in the development squad, and he wasn't on it as much as he can be. So Pulisic was on, and right from the very start of that second half, I don't know if you agree with me, tell me if you don't, but I thought Jorginho bossed that midfield. We saw the Jorginho that came, was it third in the Ballon d'Or? He bossed that midfield, absolutely. And Pulisic, to me, looked really sharp up front, doing his defensive work, but when they put him through, he looked right on it and right up for it. His body language was different last night. I don't know if it's psychological with him. When he knows he's got the physical capabilities, he's right on it. But that's the way he looked to me. So the game was really dominated by us. By the end of the game, we'd had 68% possession away at their home ground. We had 15 shots to their 4 and 7 on target to their 3 on target. That said, in that first half, Kepa was out of this world. They weren't worldy saves, but they were saves that could easily have not been made. And I felt a lot more heartened about, because we're going to lose Mendy when the African Cup of Nations starts, and I I feel a lot better. I think Kepa's getting his game together. Looks like his confidence is sky high, and I feel a lot more confident about losing Mendy for 3 or 4 games and keeping it in Kepa's hopefully safe hands. But he had a real good game last night, did Kepa. Looked confident, his kicking was confident, his distribution was good, and he made some cracking saves. Could easily have been 2 or 3-0 down in that first half had it not been for Kepa. So all good. I couldn't see much bad out of last night. Passes, we made 734 to their 350, and that really, passing accuracy 88%. It's nearly always between 85 and 90% with Chelsea, and that is cracking, you know, over 90 minutes. It just shows what a great passing side we are. So we needed the cavalry, and in the 65th minute, Mount came on for Harvey Vale, not Dent, and Reece James came on for Xavier Simons. Xavier Simons did okay, couple of disappointing crosses, but defensively he did really well. There was one Brentford chance there where the guy was through. He had 2 or 3 yards on Xavier Simons, and he could shift a bit, but Xavier Simons stuck with it. And in the end, Kepa made the save, but the reason he was allowed to make the save, the reason he had the time to make the save was because that Xavier Simons just would not give in, and he tracked his man back. Well done, son. I was shouting at the telly. Well done. Nice to see. But Reece James come on, steady pair of hands. The passing got an awful lot better from that right hand side, and you can see the gulf in class between an England international and a young man just making his first team debut. But I tell you what, well done Xavier, right good performance. So Reece was on, and also we had Mason Mount on, and Mason, yeah, does what he always does. Great defensively last night, getting back, stopping things early. Sometimes don't notice what Mount does, because he'll make a challenge. He'll win the ball back sort of halfway in their area, so you don't really notice a lot of his work. But it was good to see him on. I could see why Tuchel would put him on. And then finally, the little master came on, Kante, in the 78th minute. He replaced Ross Barkley, and Ross was one of those disappointments for me last night. But that said, he's hardly had any minutes, has he? He's hardly had any minutes. He's probably getting, I've not looked at Twitter, he's probably getting roasted on Twitter and Facebook. But you know what? Oh, sell him, he's rubbish, blah 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 blah. But I think it's hard to, I'm not going to comment too much on Ross Barkley because he has hardly played. And for those of you that have played football at any sort of standard, even park football, you'll know if you haven't played for 3 or 4 weeks, your timing's off. And that's basically what was wrong with Barkley last night. His timing was off. His shooting was off. He had a couple of shots. One was a grass cutter. It looked like one of my golf shots. And yeah, he was proper off it. I didn't think Marco Alonso covered himself in glory either last night, but you know, he did what he had to do. I just think he's going through a bit of a bad patch of form, simple as that. So let's get down to the scores. Kepa is going to get my man of the match award last night. He's going to get a 9. Do you know why? Because, and I've criticised Kepa in the past. I don't particularly like him after the League Cup. It's still sort of stuck in my throat. I should get it out of my system, because he's proved what a team man he actually is. And he comes in and he does his best. And last night his best was very good. Last night he looked like a £70 million goalkeeper. Even a ball in the air, you know, there was a right dodgy ball that coming from quite a height in the floodlights, and I would expected Mendy to eat it up. But Kepa, come and got it really confidently, and I thought, there's a boy who's getting his confidence back. So well done, Kepler. You're my man of the match last night with a 9 out of 10. Asprey gets a 7 out of 10. Hard working performance as normal, cajoling the team, and yeah, good servant to the club. 7 out of 10 for Asprey. Chalabar last night gets an 8 out of 10. He bossed that defence. He bossed that defence and he bossed their attack. We won, I think it was 18 aerial duels to their 8. And I can tell why. I bet half of that was down to Chalabar. He was. It reminded me of Rudiger last night. He really did. The young man's turning into a proper defender and maybe a captain. You know. Malang Sarr last night gets a 7 from me. Didn't really put a foot wrong. And Chalabar basically playing the mental game for him, putting him in positions, but when he had to make a tackle he did, and he won a couple of aerial duels. Doesn't look the biggest, but his timing was good last night, so he gets a 7 from me. Xavier Simons gets a 7 on his debut. I think physically he found it quite demanding, but I expect that from a guy making his debut. As I've said before, he stuck to his task well several times against quite a pacey guy, and yeah, a good debut. Well done, son. On the other side, Alonso gets a 5 from me. He did lots of good things, don't get me wrong, but also lots of bad things. Giving the ball away in silly areas a couple of times, not getting that final ball across. Second half, to be fair, you know, I'm going to give him a 6, because second half he did put a couple of decent balls in that we didn't get on the end of. Not his greatest game. I think he is a little bit off form, but end of the day, he did his job. So he gets a 6 from me. Kovacic last night gets a 6.5. That's only because of his high standards. He looked like he lacked a yard due to fitness, or maybe still carrying a slight injury. But he had his trademark runs, he got stuck in, he was enthusiastic, he gave it 110. But because his standards are so high, he gets a 6.5 from me. Sol Niguez. Well, I have to say, apart from 2 poor balls that he gave away, he looked a lot more like the Atletico Madrid Sol Niguez last night. Always wanted the ball, got stuck in, and he got booked, but got stuck in. Lots of good tackles all around that pitch. One sublime 50-yard ball to Marco Alonso from one side of the pitch to the other. Looked like the player that I know he can be, and I've been shocked that he hasn't been. So, a lot more confidence, maybe because he had some younger lads around him and had to be more dominant. Took control of the ball, looked a lot more confident. Let's wait and see. I don't know if he'll go back to Atletico Madrid in January, but if he carries on playing like that, it'll be no biggie if he stays until the end of the season, because yeah, last night, his best performance in a Chelsea shirt. Unlucky not to get probably man of match, but Kepa just those 3 saves, Kepa just and his all-round game, Kepa just nicked it. But yeah, Sol Niguez, well done last night, playing in a side with 3 debutants, and you looked a lot more like the player that I know you can be. Ross Barkley gets a 4. I thought Ross, who I don't think is as bad as some Chelsea supporters paint him to be, always seems to be a positive force when he comes on as a substitute. When he's on his game, he's a danger going forward. Last night, he just looked like a bloke that had played about 10 minutes all season. He looked like a bloke that didn't have match fitness. He looked like a guy that was a bit devoid in confidence. Kept going though, so I take my hat off to him. Wasn't a stinker, but wasn't far off. So there you go, Ross Barkley. Jude Bell gets a 6 from me. I know he can do so much better. Looked as if the physicality of it caught him out a bit, but I think if, as Tuchel says, he's been suffering from flu, the physicality would have caught anyone out. Stuck to his task well, made some good runs into areas where sometimes our normal forwards maybe wouldn't have thought to run, which is maybe why people like Alonso didn't give him the service that perhaps he should have had. So yeah, a good debut though. And that leaves me with Harvey Vale, who could easily have got my man of the match along with Sol Niguez and Arrizabalaga. He was superb last night. I've already gone through his game. Held the ball up well, battled well, should have scored, but a really, really good debut, and he gets an 8 from me. Don't normally score the substitutes, but you know what? Jorginho gets a... He don't get man of the match, but he gets a 9 along with Kepa, because that second half performance was as good as I've seen from Jorginho. He absolutely bossed it. And you don't score someone that's only been on 12 minutes, but if I was scoring Kante, he'd get a 10. His footwork for that first goal to set up Reece James, who then put the ball in, whipped a wicked ball in, and was it Janssen? Yeah, it was Janssen who scored an own goal in that 80th minute, and that set us on our way. Kante was everywhere last night, and I laughed. The only thing that would have stopped him getting a 10 was he lost one ball, but then he won it back again in seconds. So that was Kante for you all over. We looked so secure when he was on that pitch. There was no way Brentford were ever going to get back into that with Kante and Jorginho on there. They both looked proper on their game. Mount and James, yeah, they did what they do. They are just quality players, and it showed. We really made Brentford look ordinary last night, which we haven't done in the league. And Pulisic, I've already said, he looked sharp, and he won us the penalty, which Jorginho put away quite nicely. And that was 4 minutes into injury time. Jorginho practically passed it into the net. But Pulisic did well. Looked to me to be the underdog to get to that ball, but he beat the keeper to it, and the keeper brought him down. So there we go. The rest is history. Jorginho just strolled up and passed it into the net from the penalty spot. No arguments whether it was a penalty or not. So that was it really. That Brentford manager, who looks like the geezer on the beach when you're 15, and he's the cool dude smoking a spliff, long-haired dude smoking a spliff that tries to get off with your 15-year-old girlfriend. Oh, you're 15, by the way. Let me just put that disclaimer in. He looks like that geezer. He looked proper disgruntled at the end. Good. So, Tommy Tuchel, you really had a hard job last night with the personnel available, but also to make sure that we did go through. I didn't think, I thought he'd written it off, but he hadn't. And he's obviously watched them young guys in training, and yeah, you got it right last night, Tommy, and for that, and because of all the circumstances around it, you get a 9 from me. You also get my endorsement that if we lost 5 games in a row, I would still not want you sacked, because I think you're one of the best things to happen to this club for a long time. And when I hear people saying, oh, he's lost his touch, I just think, cabbage. All entitled to our opinions. I've covered that in another video, but I'm entitled to my opinion too. And when I hear talk like that, I think, cabbage. Anyway, enough of the cabbages. Well done again last night, Chelsea. Thanks for watching these videos, folks. If you do watch them, please subscribe to the channel. Please throw the video a like. And all that remains for me to do is to wish every Chelsea fan everywhere, whether I agree with them or not, or whether they agree with me or not, a Merry Christmas and a happy and successful New Year. And I think we're going to see that team back on form in the new year. I really, really do. They look on it. Okay, folks, have a great Crimbo. Thanks for supporting the channel. Up to Chelsea.